So I'm officially recording. Welcome everybody for the resource channel volunteer information session. If you're listening to the recording, feel free to hit pause. Make sure you feel grounded and resourced. I forgot to record before then. So welcome to those of you listening to the recording as well. We are really excited to connect with other people with a similar passion of bringing yoga and supportive self-regulation tools to refugees and demographics impacted by war and violence around the world. So I know those of you on the call are familiar with the project, but for those of you who might be listening to the recording on the website or elsewhere, I'll just take a quick moment to share that my name is Molly. We also have Asima on the call with us. So I'm gonna spotlight my video for the recording real quick. So yes, we have Asima here, who is our resource channel officer. So she's doing a lot of the coordination and the strategic planning with me to help us get launched, and she'll be a support for all of those of you who get involved as well. So the Yoga Mandala project, I've been involved with the project for about a year now. It's crazy to believe. I came on just before the pandemic hit. And so Yoga Mandala has been around since 2014. We started with our founders who were volunteering in Amman at the Collateral Repair Project, who we've had a partnership with since 2014 with their men and children and women. And our founders really saw a need for the program to continue. The participants were sharing so many stories and so many powerful benefits and shifts that our team really wanted to carry on the teachings and also recognize that there needed to be a consistency in the sense of an understanding of how to be sensitive to the needs of this demographic, which is of course very impacted by trauma. And so that's when our trauma-informed facilitation training started in Amman back in 2000, I believe 2014, maybe 2015 was the first one. And the project carried on with those trainings. They expanded in Ireland over the years. And those trainings were being held once a year in Ireland and Amman, in addition to the yoga programs. And then YMP was also going in, and this is how I connected with them. They came to the project I was running at the time in northern Greece and did a self-care training with our volunteer team, which was so needed at the time. And when the pandemic hit, I was really in this place of wanting to ensure yoga was still accessible to refugees and displaced people, even with the social distancing and isolation in place. So we kind of brainstormed. We did bring our yoga programs virtual, which has actually been a blessing because we're now able to bring yoga to different areas, including Hong Kong and the UK, virtually. But we also were thinking, okay, what about those people who don't have access to a community center or an organization? What about those groups who are underserved? And so our aim here was really to create some kind of a free resource channel where these demographics can come to at any time. It doesn't depend on a class or an international teacher to come in. And so we have brought to life this, or we are bringing to life this project. So it's very much still a process, but we're really excited to have everyone's interest that's here and also listening to the recording. So I hope I covered everything YMP wise. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Forgot to mention as well at the start. So today we talked about YMP a little bit, introduced myself and Asima. We're going to, and talked about our intention. We'll do a little bit more of our intention and vision. We'll walk you through the platform. So if you've done our training, you've probably already seen the platform, but we'll show you a little bit of what it will look like. And then we'll talk about how to get involved, what the biggest needs are, benefits of getting involved. We'll have plenty of space for questions and answers, and then we'll also talk about other volunteer opportunities as there have been lots of questions rolling in around that. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. All right, so let's see here. So I can't see you all, so feel free to unmute yourself and jump in or use the chat. Oopsies. Use the chat and Asima. Feel free if anything's, whoops, sorry, just 1 second. This is the first time I've used the Canva slides and they're not working with my keyboard. So just 1 sec, let me change my view. Full screen. Okay, here we go. Okay, so like I mentioned, these are some questions that we'll cover today, our goals, needs, and different opportunities. So yes, we talked about this. So the resource channel. So YMP is aiming to offer a free resource channel for those impacted by war and violence to empower them with self-regulation tools through trauma-informed yoga and embodied practices which build resilience and can be practiced from anywhere in the world. So this does name yoga. Of course, we're very focused on mindful movement, the breath, meditation, yoga nidra, but we also welcome other embodied practices, as I know that we all have unique nervous systems, unique lived experiences, and different needs. So different practices support each of us. So whether that's dance or martial arts or even art, singing, definitely feel free to get in touch if you have a different skill set that you'd like to offer. And we'll get to like the needs in terms of content in just a minute, but just to name here, so a variety of modalities as well as a variety of languages, lengths of practices. So noting, you know, some people don't have really great Wi-Fi access bandwidth. So we will be doing some audio files as well. So, you know, anything from 5 minutes to an hour to make it accessible for people. You know, sometimes moms in different situations might not be able to do a full hour-long practice. So we look forward to collecting a variety of content. And the community platform. So while we're kind of in this process of how can we best serve our community right now during the pandemic, of course, with the refugees population, we want to create the free resource channel, and we also have been looking at the humanitarian community. And so we're aiming to empower and bring together trauma-informed humanitarians, yoga teachers, practitioners, and social workers to reflect on how yoga and embodied practices can support healing, share stories about our experiences while creating opportunities for collaboration around the world, understand how to take care of ourselves and our community, and spark a global movement to ensure the healing tools of yoga are available to refugees and other demographics impacted by trauma. And so, you know, when I came into this work, which I think I've mentioned to some of you before, it was over 5 years ago, and I, you know, Googling like yoga, refugees, like how to, you know, like I wanted information and I wanted to connect with others doing the same. And it was really hard at that time. And it's still, you know, there's quite a few more organizations, and I'm still discovering these incredible projects that have been born in the past couple years. But we really just want to create a space where people can go to, you know, maybe like one of my responsibilities in Greece was mentoring yoga teachers when they arrived and how to be trauma informed and how to adapt their offerings for this when we're working with the Yazidi genocide survivors. And so many of those volunteers would call me before they would arrive, and they were just like terrified of like, I don't know how I can do this, that kind of like imposter syndrome. And so we really want this space to be a, you know, a safe container where people can ask questions, share experiences. There'll also be monthly themes with different content. So it will be also furthering our understanding of trauma, trauma-informed considerations, boundaries, self-care, embodied social justice. So there'll be a wide variety of content on there, and we really look forward to creating that space together. So that will also be on the platform, but it will be separate from the free channel for the demographics we serve. And then the long-term vision. So we're starting with the free channel and then building with the community platform. And then our long-term goal is for the, you know, something like the community platform to also be used as a secondary trauma mitigation tools for NGOs and the humanitarian and activist sector. As many of us probably know, compassion fatigue and that the impacts of vicarious trauma can have a really big impact on us. So we hope that that will be possible within the project as well. So I know this is kind of complex and there's a lot of layers to it, so we wanted to make a visual, and this is made by Shireen and Asima. And so this is what will happen if you were to donate a video to YMP. So essentially, all of the channels that are trauma-informed and appropriate, don't require a lot of props, that type of thing, will be going on the free resource channel for refugees. Additionally, some of the content will be utilized on the membership channel, which is for now for humanitarians, maybe long-term, maybe next year, also expanding as a self-care tool, burnout prevention tool. And so, why would you want to do that? Because we are charging, a small amount, but we will be charging for that. And so we kind of wanted to explain, where that money will go towards. And so the intention is to foster that sense of community. So to fund the community platform, fund the free resource channel, and also help to sustain YMP's ongoing trauma-informed healing-centered programs around the world, as well as provide diversity scholarships for volunteers who maybe are in places where the currency is low or in positions where they're not earning financial support. That is one of the big things YMP is able to offer. So that's kind of, I hope, feel free to unmute yourselves again if you have any questions there. I can't see the chat at the moment, which is kind of hard, but okay. So I'm going to walk you through the platform. Let's see, so I'll just minimize here. So this is the Mighty Networks platform. And so we were hoping, we had a vision about a month ago that we would have the site already to show you some examples and things, but Asima and I are currently in a training through Mighty Networks, and we haven't quite gotten that far yet. So, but this will just give you an idea of what it will look like. We'll have, an overview with like very basic and in multiple language introduction to the practice, safety, like things to keep in mind. And then we'll have a section for different practices in English, different practices in Arabic, and we'll have a whole section. As you may know, YMP is very focused on inclusivity and accessibility. So we'll have a whole section as well on things like chair yoga, bed yoga, things that might not require the same physical ability. So I can show you, essentially the videos would be uploaded under each section. And they come on here just like this. And then there will be space.
Molly?
Yeah.
Molly, I'm sorry to interrupt, but we can't see it. I think you just shared the PDF document and not the whole screen. So we can't see.
Okay, let me see. Just go back to my Zoom. So you see the PDF right now?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry about that. I've been like explaining something you can't see. Okay, here we go. Okay, so let me backtrack.
Yeah, wonderful.
Okay, so I'll do this quickly as I know we're going through a bit of time already, but so this is essentially what the platform looks like. There will be an overview I mentioned here, and then this is kind of the breakdown. So you can see we'll have different sections for languages, and then we'll have a section that focuses on making the practices accessible and inclusive. So you can see an example of what your video would be uploaded like. And because Mighty Networks, the way that it's oriented, we're not able to upload videos directly to the platform. So what we do, the same with our trainings, we upload them as a private unlisted YouTube video, and then it's posted onto the platform. So just so you have an understanding that just because it's going through YouTube doesn't mean like anybody could go in and watch it. And then there will be, a little bit of a description, and then there will be comments, space for comments and questions and interaction. With the community platform, if your content was to be, relevant with one of the themes and go on the community platform, in this space below, we would include your bio and how to find you, and, if people want to practice with you or connect with you, if you would like that. So Asima, does that kind of give enough of a little, at least a quick glimpse of the platform?
Yes, I think well, maybe we can also add that we use the same platform for the community for the membership, and that we have some more options to interact with the other members and so.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
with the refugee platform, there won't be as much of this community development and, themes and polls and questions and interactive kind of engaging posts. It will just be more resources and space for questions versus the community platform. That's a great thing to bring in, Asima. Will include resources each week, but it will also just really be a space similar to social media where you can go on and make sections, or make questions, ask polls, say, hey, does anybody on here work with prisoners? Does anybody on here have experience working with domestic violence shelters? There's such a depth there. Yeah, I think that I was going to mention something else, but now it lost my mind. It slipped from my mind. So I hope that gives a good idea of the community platform. Feel free if you have any questions, or Asima, if you want to jump in as well. Feel welcome to. Is there any questions so far, I guess, before I share my screen again with the slideshow? All good.
Can I ask some?
Yeah,
sorry. So if you are doing a video that you want to put on the resource, what way would that work?
You mean what's the question? Just like the logistics around it, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're gonna get to a little bit more of the logistical stuff now. And just know that if you haven't received it already, we're going to get to action steps. But if you haven't received it already, we have quite a thorough document that's facilitator guidelines. That's giving guidelines around trauma-informed methodology, but it's also giving instructions on how to submit content, how to, what angle to make your video at.
All right. Okay.
So if I don't answer all of your question in the next few minutes, feel free to ask again. Okay, so now this is a bit complicated. I'm going to share my screen again to find the PowerPoint. So let me see just a second. Sorry, it's my first time with the Canva PowerPoint, and it has, oh, here we are. Okay. You all get to see my very busy background at the moment. My desktop, he's cleaned up. Okay. So the next thing is what's currently needed. So as I expressed, we're collecting a variety of content, a variety of languages. To start, we're really focusing on Arabic and English to really lay the foundation. And when we start this kind of launch with of outreach with the refugee communities, we're going to start with going through our partner organizations. So we really have feedback from them. They can help the population get set up with it. And then we're going to expand from there. So through our partner organizations, English and Arabic are the two most commonly spoken languages, as well as French. So those are kind of the three focuses to start, but all languages are welcome, especially German and Italian as well. So as I mentioned, especially at the beginning, we were starting fresh. So everything from very short bite-sized content to, full session practices. Probably keep it to about an hour for the free resource channel. So mindful movement, yoga nidra, we really want to have a foundation of accessible practices before we launch. So that's one of our biggest priorities to start. And of course, breath, dance, and all of those things we mentioned. And then in addition to content creators, we're looking for 2 or 3 additional volunteers to get involved with the resource channel team. So that would essentially be joining Asima and myself in like weekly dialogue around, strategic planning, implementation. There's kind of different roles available and different levels of commitment. So whether it was, hey, I would like to get involved with making a monthly theme, or, hey, I would like to help receive and upload content. There's lots of different avenues and levels of commitment. So for our volunteers who engage 5 or more hours a week on average, of course it's not every single week, but you know, like an average estimate, of course, joining a team of very diverse international volunteers, which some people come on our team just for that sense of community with other like-minded people. And then we're offering free access to the community platform and discount on all of the YMP trainings and continued education modules, which are launching this year. So action steps. So this is where we can get into Patsy's question a little bit more. So we'll have you just I know all 3 of you here, so you don't have to worry about putting it in the chat. But this will be also useful for Saturday. Email Asima. If you don't have Asima's email, you can write it down now. It's resourcedev.ymp. Or if you don't remember it, it's okay. Just email me and I can connect you and send that to you. So once you email us, and this isn't like I'm committed, you know, but even if you're just interested and want a little bit more details on the guidelines and things, Asima will send out the facilitator guidelines to you. Then you'll have the space to record the content, taking your time, or maybe selecting content you already have available. So a lot of us are teaching yoga virtually or other modalities virtually. We might already have those little practices available. So if you already have them, that's great too. I will name, we're putting, you know, YMP branding on the videos just to have this consistency. So it's essentially just a little 5-second clip we made with the YMP logo and it's not even nature because we were trying to find like the least triggering content possible. So it's kind of these like yellow sparkles. It's kind of pretty. So that they will, one of the volunteers will merge your video with the intro when you submit it via WeTransfer. So if you're not familiar with WeTransfer, it's okay because it's like it's so simple to use. I used it for the first time and was like, oh wow, that's amazing. So it's just a really easy way to transfer files. And essentially you would be sending it to the resource domain there. And that the resource domain would have access for a certain amount of time to go in and download it. So the reason the app works really well versus like the Google Drive is it doesn't require storage and it's faster actually. So is that clear in terms of the next steps? Yeah, okay, great. And also, as always, especially for those of you listening to the recording, you can't ask questions live, know that you can email me or Asima at any time. We're always happy to hear from you. Even if I don't respond right away, I'm happy to hear from you and will respond at some point, as you all probably know in this chat. Okay, so I also wanted to, and some of you heard this yesterday in the community meetup, or 2 days ago, I guess, but I just wanted to raise other volunteer opportunities at the moment because we do have quite a big need and we have lots of people interested. So we are looking for people to teach live virtual yoga and dance as well. There's a women's group we're looking to start in the UK and in other localities as well. We do require, and our partner organizations require a background check for safeguarding purposes. And then we're looking for, of course, I mentioned the resource team, content creators, and then we're also looking for 2 people to get involved on more of an internal level with development and communication. So there's the emails at the bottom. Take a photo. That was a good idea, Alexa. Or of course, just email our general email and I can point you, I get those and I can point you in the right direction. Justine is the volunteer coordinator. So if you're interested in those kind of live classes, that will be going through Justine, and that's the volunteer.ymp email. And then upcoming opportunities. So we have, for those of you who don't already know, we have a monthly connection with trauma-informed teachers and practitioners, volunteers, anyone interested, essentially. Oops, I can't see you at the moment for some reason. But so those happen once a month. They're community-led. They include usually some kind of community check-in, inquiry, an experiential practice, and then a discussion around the modality that was shared, and a space for questions. So this month, for example, we had a restorative yoga class. Last month we had a yoga nidra session. So we also are looking for someone to lead the May session, actually, if anyone is interested. And then chair yoga and accessibility in the yoga community. It's our first continued education module. Because of some conflict in dates with a lot of people in our community, we pushed that back to June 5th and 6th. So I hope that aligns for some more people. The virtual trauma-informed facilitation training is being expanded to 30 hours. And that is August 22nd to September 29th on Wednesdays and Sundays, and that will fill up. So just to give you a heads up. That is not officially represented on the website yet. It will be hopefully by Monday. So we're just kind of in the soft launch in our existing community. So it's a good time to save a spot. And if you're interested, you can email me and I can send you details, or you can check out the website. It does have like the dates and the amount and things. There's just not the option to purchase yet on the website. And then we have the recording of sharing yoga within refugee community introduction kind of workshop. So that was 2-hour experiential practice, 30-minute introduction, and a lot of space for Q&A and experiential practice sharing. So I think you've heard quite a lot of my voice now. So if anybody wants to share ideas or reflect, ask questions on any uncertainties, feel free to unmute yourself, or you can also put it in the chat.
Yes, I have a few questions. So regarding the languages, you mentioned French. So I wanted to know, should we wait before to deliver something in French, or?
That's a great question. Actually, when I was speaking out loud, I was thinking that French would be just as useful as English and Arabic. So I think those, right away, the participants we have in Hong Kong are mostly from different places in Africa, and the common language in some of those groups is French. So that would be appreciated to start with. Yeah, great question.
Okay. Regarding dance, are you searching for a specific type, or can be anything?
Yeah, that's another great question. It can be anything that's trauma informed. So the guidelines will give a little bit of direction, around language and clothing and, that type of thing. But in terms of the actual practice, I mean, to be honest, I don't know we have any other French speakers able to contribute right now. So any kind of foundational videos would be great. We could also talk one-on-one about that as well. I would say some short practices would be great. And I don't know if you do any kind of chair yoga or anything like that, but that would be something very unique within the community to offer.
Okay. And just a last question regarding the female audience. When you, for example, offer meditation or whatever, really specifically aimed to women, do you have to pay attention to the terms that you use?
That's
I mean, about the anatomy, like mentioning the womb or whatever.
That's a really great question as well. So most of our programming, or I shouldn't say most, but a lot of our programming is with women. I think the only thing that I would name off the top of my head, and let me think about this as well, but what I would name initially is just to keep in mind the level of understanding people might have around things like their womb, and maybe they've never really heard about connecting with the womb, or so just kind of starting from a place for beginners. And then in terms of other female body parts, I think it can be named when it's done in an empowering way, just to keep in mind that with these demographics, there's oftentimes a lot of sexual trauma. So just, using gentle language and invitation and things like that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Those are great questions. Also, Asima, if there's anything I jumped over, feel free to jump in if there's anything else you want to share as well. And if
Can I
not,
ask a question? Sorry.
You go ahead, Patsy.
It's just, you know, you were saying about people have to be checked. We get checked for work. A police check, is that equivalent, or is there another thing that you need to get done?
Yeah, so background check, that's another really good question. Background, and it's a hard one to answer because background checks are so specific to each country. So there's not like one general international system. For me in the US, I do the same. I get a fingerprint clearance card from the police station. I know in other places, even in Europe, it's a kind of a different system, but yes, that would be valid.
All right, okay, thanks.
Yeah. And that the background checks, just to name, is for people teaching the live classes. So if, you know, for people who can't commit to live classes but would like to offer something and would like to create content, because there's not direct interaction, there's less of a risk. We don't require the background check for that, but we do require a general understanding of trauma-informed considerations. And Claudia, did you have something?
That was one of my questions,
Okay.
the background check, but you were quicker. And then also you mentioned German. So do you have any, well, my German is not really good anymore. My English is better. But I could do offerings in both languages.
Yeah.
Or even I'm a translator as well, and I'm well able to juggle between the languages.
That's actually a beautiful idea as well. That's something, yeah, it's a skill. It's not easy for everyone, but that would be, you know, if you created content that could be understood in both English and German in a simple way, you know, that video could be accessible to more demographics. And the other thing is, a lot of the refugee community I've worked with personally in Greece, or, you know, other places, and when they're resettled in Germany, a lot of them have more English than German to start. So, you know, even in Germany, that, you know, multi-language could be supportive. So that's a great question. I mean, to be honest, at the moment, we don't have partnerships with German-based organizations, but that's definitely something, we have connections, and that's definitely a direction we would like to go in. So yeah, it's definitely a need. There's obviously, as you know, a huge refugee demographic in Germany, and as many of you probably know at this point, a big passion of mine is supporting Yazidi survivors, and so we hope to kind of build some connections in Germany with survivors that have been resettled there and bring this offering to them.
Perfect. Yeah. Yeah, and I'll put my thinking hat on as well, Molly. I'm sure I can come up with a few suggestions on what I could offer.
Yeah.
And I just send that your way, and you all can actually then tell me, you know, if it's a runner or whether it should be live or recording.
Yeah.
And send me the guidelines as well. I think I definitely need a better filming background than my library and my greenhouse here.
You know, that it's just
the light is also
I try to
very...
have this perfect white screen or something behind me, and the reality is that it's just not always possible, and that's okay, you know. So even if you have the library or the greenhouse or, you know, whatever, it's all okay and welcome. Of course, the more simple the better, so not to overwhelm, but it's all good. And yeah, any questions related to content or ideas, feel free to reach out to me and or Asima, and we can brainstorm together on that. And what we can do as well, Asima, is we can email the facilitator guidelines out to Patsy, Alexa, and Claudia, who are all here live, afterwards, just so you all already have that.
Yes, I also thought that. I will send that to you. And also, I just wanted to add that we will watch all the videos before we upload it. So if the case would happen that you maybe there you put a term what we don't consider to be trauma informative, also don't be afraid. There's a double check. So yeah, I just wanted to name that because I think maybe this is a little bit relieving that there are a lot, our eyes are watching on it too.
Yeah, that's a great point, Asima. And, you know, the intention is really to provide everyone with such a strong foundation through through either questions, the facilitator guidelines, of course, the training that we offer. The workshop is really great as well, in terms of facilitation and methodology considerations, because we want to avoid that from happening. You know, we would hate to have to say, hey, I'm sorry, but this, you know, may not be considered sensitive. So we're going to do everything from our end that we can to avoid that from ever happening. But know that we're here to support and answer questions.
Yeah. And could you be so kind to write your email addresses in the chat? Then Molly doesn't have to forward them to me.
Will do straight away, Asima.
Okay. So I think I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording because we're over our 30 minutes, as I imagined we would be, but I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. So those of you listening to the recording, feel free to reach out to me at yogamandalaproject.gmail.com or to Asima at resourcedev.ymp.com, and those email addresses will be in the comments, and we look forward to hearing from you.